Welcome back to Multiverse of Magic, where movies are more than stories, but they're portals to infinite worlds. In honor of the brand new Snow White live action, I've made my own ranking of all the Disney live action adaptations out there, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you and my ranking with you as well. And I'm thinking, let's just jump straight into the magic. Alright, to kick this little adventure off, we got the worst of them all, Peter Pan and Wendy. A very unoriginal concept that follows the exact same patterns, less to none changes from the original, and it just annoys me because Peter Pan is a pretty nice tale, but overall this was really disappointing. The only thing I liked about this one was the casting, which was okay compared to other movies, but it wasn't as bad as the movie itself, and that is why it's the last of the bunch. And second last is surprisingly not Pinocchio from 2022. This is a movie that's, again, really boring. It follows the exact same pattern as the original movie, and don't get me wrong, I love the original movie here, but when you're making a live action, you have to adapt to the medium of live action. You can't copy the story, because the charm of the original story is the animation and the story. When you're doing Pinocchio live action, it's frankly just creepy. Pinocchio himself just looks really bad. He scares me. I don't know, his surface is way too clean and he doesn't look wooden at all. And the worst thing is Tom Hanks is in this movie and he doesn't do well either. And he's a really good actor. I guess they didn't pay him that well because frankly, he's not good in this one. In this spot, we have Mulan from 2020. Mulan really suffered the consequences of being the first Disney movie that got released during the first year of COVID. There's none of the magic left in this one. Mushu and the Lucky Cricket is gone. And those are the funniest characters in that movie. And to me, this movie doesn't work without them. And that's why this movie is in this spot right here. Lady and the Tramp, another original Disney Plus movie, and I think the dogs are really cute. They're using real dogs with CGI faces, and in this one it really works. Unfortunately, it follows a lot of the same story, and there's not a lot of the differentiating we were talking about, and that's why it's this low on the list, even though I liked it a lot. But to me, as long as they have Bella Notte, I'm happy as a bee. And in number 14, we got Dumbo. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Dumbo is super cute. With the big ears and the long nose, this is a great design. I think it's even cuter than the baby elephant from the original. And in this one, the human characters are way more important than in the original movie. And I'm liking this trend of maybe even differentiating more from the original content as long as you do it in the right way. And I think Dumbo is one of the first Disney live action movies that really got that differentiating correct. And number 13 is the hopeful Pete's Dragon. And this one is surprisingly heartfelt and emotional. The relationship between Pete and Elliot is great, and the story is just completely different from the original movie. And honestly, this is one of my favorites, even though it is smaller than most of the other live action movies. This just hit me straight in the heart. Next one is The Little Mermaid from 2023. Personally, I have nothing against the Hailey Bailey casting of Ariel. I think her voice is phenomenal, and it even makes a lot of the original songs even better than its predecessor. And to me, Under the Sea is as funny and hilarious as the original number. And I did really like The Little Mermaid, even though there's a few things I would change. For example, It doesn't have a lot of original ideas. It just follows the main story of The Little Mermaid. I wish they went a little off script, but even though they didn't do that, the other problem is some of the casting. I think Javier Bardem isn't the best casting for Triton, simply because it didn't really seem that he wanted to be there. But in the end, it was an okay live action adaptation. Next up is the wondrous Alice in Wonderland. This is a movie that's sometimes very visually stunning and sometimes it's not. It really depends on which scene you're looking at, but the CGI work is a lot of up and down. To me, there's no heart. It feels very empty, although the casting in this one is phenomenal. There's a lot of good actors, but the one that really shines is Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter. And he is a very mad actor, so I'm really liking this one. My biggest problem is the over-reliance on CGI, and that is why this movie is in 11th place. Congratulations! You have made it to the top 10. And to kick off the top 10, we have 2019's Lion King. This is a movie that I personally enjoyed more than most. It's a movie that made a lot of money, mostly because it's one of Disney's most famous movies. I might be one of the few people that really enjoyed the CGI in this movie. The animals look stunning. Even though there's not a lot of expression on their faces, it's still really realistic, and I know the movie got a lot of critiques for the animals not looking like their cartoon versions, but come on people, this is a live action, it's supposed to be realistic, and measuring in those terms, Lion King really held up. Even though I prefer the original, the songs in this one are done beautifully. The voice actors have great voices and the songs are bigger and better than ever. There's also a few new scenes in the movie that really adds to the depth of the characters, especially Nala has a lot more of action going on, and that is why I think this one deserves a top 10. In 9th place, we got Cinderella, a heartful and fresh take on the original Cinderella story. And I think Lily James does a perfect job as Cinderella. She is charming, maybe even more charming than the original Cinderella. And I think Kate Blanchett as the evil stepmother is a brilliant idea. And I would even dare to say an iconic Disney villain. This is overall a great movie. However, I do think there is not a lot of memorable songs compared to other movies on this list, and that is why it gets the 9th spot. Aladdin from 2019. And for me, the most important thing about this movie was the casting. They nailed Aladdin. They nailed Jasmine. Aladdin and Jasmine together is perfect. Genie is Will Smith. Will Smith as Genie is really funny to look at. Even though he is no Robin Williams, and far from, he makes this thing his own role. And I really like him, especially in Friend Like Me, which is one of the grandest Disney musical numbers I've ever seen. Only problem I have with this movie is Jafar. He feels less intimidating than his original character, and he doesn't really feel like the true Disney villain he used to be. Maleficent from 2014. Angelina Jolie carries this movie hard, but it works. It's great. Her costume is amazing. And of course, Maleficent is a great Disney villain. This is a completely different take on the story of Sleeping Beauty, where Sleeping Beauty is a bi-role, and I just really like the concept of this anti-hero becoming more true to herself and more of a hero than what her counterpart was in the first place. And now, the newest of them all, Snow White. What did I really think about this movie? I think the actors were great. Rachel Zegler's voice is amazing, and the three new original songs are very, very, very well written. I think my favorite was Waiting on a Wish, which is one of the first songs in this movie. But personally, my favorite part was the dwarves. The hut they're in is great. I even think it is practical. And the dwarfs themselves, the CGI is amazing. And they're hilarious. I was laughing out loud so much. They were saying some ridiculous things, and I did really like this movie way more than I thought it would. And I do really recommend going and watching it in cinema right now. Okay, we are kicking off the top 5 live action movies with The Jungle Book. This one is great. The CGI might be one of the best works Disney has ever done, even though a lot of the songs doesn't necessarily fit in the tone of this movie. The bare necessities is always a hoot to listen to. This movie is more menacing and feels more threatening and serious than the original Jungle Book, and Shere Khan is a way more menacing villain than he has ever been. And that is why this one is allowed to kick off top 5. In 4th place, we got Mufasa, a very heavy and very inspirational original prequel based on the Lion King universe. Mufasa is one of my favorite Disney characters of all time, simply because he's such a great dad. And in this movie, he is way younger, and it's all about him and his relationship with his half-brother Scar. And Disney really listened to the fans here, because all of the animals in Mufasa has a lot of expressions in their faces compared to The Lion King 2019. But the best part about this movie is the phenomenal original songs. My personal favorite is I Always Wanted a Brother, but there's also a lot of other great songs. For example, Milele. And honestly, my only problem with this movie is the fact that Scar doesn't really seem evil, except for the very end where he turns on Mufasa and tries to get him killed, but ends up saving him. The weird thing is, Mufasa doesn't forgive Scar after this, and it doesn't really fit to Mufasa's character, because he loves his brother. So I don't know, this ending felt weird, but it's overall a very good movie, and I do recommend it to everybody. Now we are finally down to the top 3 Disney live action movies. And let's kick the top 3 off with one of the most creative adaptations on this list. It is Cruella. Cruella is... I loved Cruella. Emma Stone as Cruella de Vil is a phenomenal casting. She carries this sassy tone that just works really well, and this movie isn't too close to its original. Actually, it's almost the opposite. There's no mentioning of the Dalmatians at all, unless you're counting the little Easter egg, but this is one of my favorites for a reason. The costumes in this one is incredible. They actually won a Oscar for costume design, and it's very well deserved. The soundtrack throughout the movie is really cool. They're doing the Cruella de Vil, and it actually works, even though it might be a little overused. And actually, I do remember this one scene that Emma Stone as Cruella falls out of a dump truck, and she's wearing this long dress made out of garbage, and somehow they made that work, and it looks stunning. And in the end, this movie falls a little flat. It doesn't really wrap up the story as you might think, but considering the rest of this great movie, I don't see that as an issue, and I think it's a perfect candidate for top 3. In second place, we got Christopher Robin. A live-action version of Pooh Bear and Friends have never looked this cute. They're way older than their original designs, and Christopher Robin is way older as well. He lives a normal life, not thinking about his animals at all. He's thinking it's normal childhood fantasies. But that changes when Winnie the Pooh and Friends walks out into the real world and scares everybody around them. It works out for a ton of laughter, and everybody gets scared of these real life plushies. This is a movie that brought me back into my childhood, and Ewan McGregor as Christopher Robin surprisingly works, even though he used to be Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars universe. This is one of my favorite live action movies of all time. The one you've all been waiting for. Some of you already know what's missing, and it is Beauty and the Beast. This movie is my all-time favorite Disney live action. Emma Watson as Belle is the best casting on this list. She's singing is perfect. Her humor is perfect. The general vibe of the character is perfect. I even like her more than the original Belle. This movie really just makes the original movie even better. The casting of all the cutleries, we have Lumiere, we have Cogsworth, and we have Chip. All of those look very realistic, but still has their cuteness. Even I admit that they're cuter in the original movie, but still, I feel like they kept the great vibe of the original characters. And we have Ewan McGregor again as Lumiere, and he is hilarious. I love this movie so much. And the Beast, he is actually scary in this one. I feel like in the original, I could marry the Beast, but in the live action movie, he is way too scary. But in the end, this movie just does whatever it can to make itself perfect. The songs are phenomenal. The original songs, I think there's 3 original songs, and my personal favorite is Evermore. It is Beast's first song, and this one is majestic. And the CGI is perfect. There is no flaws in the CGI in this movie, and I can't say that for all the other movies, but this one, in my mind, is perfect. And again, Disney shows us that love and beauty is found within. And that is a wrap of my ranking, guys. I thank you so much for sticking around and looking at this video. I thought it was a very exciting journey, and I hope you agree or disagree strongly with my opinions. Hit that subscribe button and the like button if you love this content and everything Disney, movies, and Hollywood, and I hope to see you in the next video.